This is Martin Truex Jr., and these are the paint jobs that Martin Truex Jr. has run from 2016 to 2024 with the nickname Moody Blue. As you can see, obviously it has gotten that nickname for its blue color combinations and its auto owner sponsorship. But also, another reason I call it Moody Blue is because he's either running up front and winning or he's crashing. Now, obviously, it's just the auto owner's insurance schemes, not the Sirius XM schemes, although he's had a lot of success in them, or that. Now, let's get right into it. In 2016, it was the first year of the sponsorship for Martin Truex Jr. They sponsored 3 races. Now, the first race was at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and you can see here Martin Truex Jr. right off the bat was running up front in this scheme. I like to think that in his earlier years in this car, he was running really, really well, but this race, he started P8, and he ultimately finished P8 after a late string of cautions that set him back a little bit on the restarts. But ultimately, Kyle Busch did win this race. As you can see, he's leading right now with 18 to go. And Martin Truex Jr. did not lead any laps this race. Now, for the second race that Martin Truex Jr. ran this scheme was Darlington in 2016. He started this race in 8th place, and he led a total of 28 laps during the race. He took the lead for the first time on lap 339 out of 367 after passing Ryan Newman. Kevin Harvick dominated this race, where he led a total of 214 laps, but later on in the race, Martin Truex Jr. and his pit crew capitalized on Kevin Harvick's pit issues. This was Martin Truex Jr.'s second win of the 2016 season, where he also won the Coca-Cola 600 earlier this year and absolutely dominated that race. And also keep in mind, this was Martin Truex Jr.'s second race with auto owners as his sponsor ever. I also find it really, really interesting that Martin Truex Jr., for his first 2 wins of 2016, came at the Coca-Cola 600 and then the Southern 500, where both of these races are crown jewels. But really, this win for Martin Truex Jr. kicked off an era for the Moody Blue scheme, as you will see later on in this video. Now, for the third race of the 2016 season that Martin Truex Jr. was sponsored by Auto Owners Insurance, he started on pole at Martinsville. He had the fastest qualifying time with 98.206 miles an hour. This was Martin Truex Jr.'s first ever pole at Martinsville and his 5th pole of the 2016 season. Now, Martin Truex Jr. was really, really strong this race, as he led for 141 laps, and he finished second only to Matt Kenseth, who led 174 laps. Now, despite not winning, Martin Truex Jr. was a really strong contender. He did finish 7th in this race. As you can see already, on lap 2, he's already gapped Joey Logano like crazy. So this was a really, really good race for Martin Truex Jr. in the 78. Now, that'll do it for the 2016 season, where he only ran 3 races. Now let's get into the 2017 NASCAR season, where Martin Truex Jr. ran the scheme double, where he ran it for 6 races this season. Those 6 races were Kansas, the Brickyard 400, Richmond, Charlotte Motor Speedway, Phoenix Raceway, and Michigan International Speedway. Now, let's get into the 2017 season. Now, this season is a very special season for Martin Truex Jr. This was his 2017 championship year, first and only, not his only deserving one, but his only official NASCAR Cup Series championship year. Nobody really saw this coming. He had a really, really strong year in 2016, but I don't think everyone expected quite the domination that Martin Truex Jr. showed in 2017. Now, for this race here at Kansas Motor Speedway, Truex led a race high of 104 of the 267 laps this race, and he had a really strong performance throughout. Obviously, on this late restart, In just 2 laps, he has already pulled ahead of the entire field, just showing his dominance. He started third here in this race, and of course he was just up front the entire time. But this is just the beginning of winning in Moody Blue in the 2017 NASCAR Cup Series season. But this race really just kick-started the domination of his 2017 championship winning season in the Moody Blue car. Now, this is where it starts to take a turn for him. This is really where it becomes Moody Blue. As you can see, last race he's winning, and in the previous 3 races he's running up front, doing really, really well. But this is where he starts crashing. Indianapolis Motor Speedway on July 23rd. Martin Truex Jr.'s 2017 Brickyard 400 race ended very prematurely in a fiery wreck while battling for the lead with Kyle Busch with 49 to go. You can see his temper there. He was dominating this race along with Busch, and then he just got loose on the inside, slammed Busch and him into the wall, and it kind of just went up in flames from that. He led 8 laps. He qualified 6th, but he ultimately finished 33rd after that. This was a battle for the lead off of a restart with 49 laps to go, and he started in the rear with unapproved adjustments. Now, also, races that I could not find footage of. He raced this scheme at Michigan, and he led 62 laps and was second in laps led, only to Kyle Larson's 96, and he finished 5th that race. He won both stages, and he started second. Also, he raced at Richmond, and he led a race high of 228 laps and won stage 2, and he was leading with a few laps remaining when a caution was thrown for Derek Cope crashing. After a late pit stop, Truex restarted in the lead, but was involved in a crash with Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson in the final laps, where Truex ultimately finished 20th. He did start 5th in that race, though, and he clinched the regular season title then. As you can see, we're in the playoffs currently. This is at Charlotte Motor Speedway, where he ended up winning this race, marking his 6th win of the season and a spot in the round of 8 in the NASCAR playoffs. He led a combined total of 91 laps this race. He started 17th, and it was really far back in the field for him. But he also raced at Phoenix later in the season for the final race of the round of 8, I believe. And he started in 5th, finished in 3rd, and led 78 laps. Pretty ironic, right? He did not win the race, but he was a very prominent contender throughout the race, securing a spot in the Final 4 at Homestead based off of points, and ultimately he went on to win the 2017 championship in dominating fashion. Not just in the championship race, he didn't have the best car all night long in the championship race, but throughout the whole season he was the most dominant and the best driver all season long, which propelled him to this championship. Now, for the 2018 season, Auto Owners Insurance was one of the primary sponsors for the 78 of Martin Truex Jr., alongside Bass Pro Shops and 5 Hour Energy. Notably, Truex won 1 race this season at the Quaker Stake 400 in Kentucky, dominating the race and winning all 3 stages. This was the last year for Furniture Row Racing as a team, as the team announced in September of 2018 that it would cease operations at the end of the season. Truex then moved to JGR in 2019 to drive the 19 car. The races that Martin Truex Jr. ran the Auto Owners scheme this season was Bristol, as you can see here, Michigan, Kentucky, Pocono, Indianapolis, Richmond, Charlotte, and Phoenix. Now, this race, as you can see, was hampered early on when he was involved in a multi-car pileup on just lap 3, triggered by the spin by Michael McDowell. The number 78 Toyota suffered heavy damage to the front nose during the incident, and this kind of ended his day. Another race that Martin Truex Jr. ran this car was at Michigan, where he started 17th and finished 18th. He led for a total of 25 laps and appeared to be a strong contender for a stage win at one point, but with 2 laps remaining in Stage 2, Martin Truex Jr. ran out of fuel, which forced him to pit while the pits were closed. This caused him to receive a penalty that really ruined his recovery efforts. And even though he led laps and showed good speed at times, the late race fuel issue and the penalty ended up dropping Martin Truex Jr. to a disappointing finish during this race. Next, we go to Kentucky, where Martin Truex Jr. dominated this race, securing his second victory at the track in a row. His 78 Toyota Camry proved to be the class of the field, as he led 174 of the 267 laps, and he swept both Stage 1 and Stage 2. This marked the 4th victory of the 2018 season and the 19th win of his career. He cemented his dominance by passing Brad Keselowski and Kurt Busch in the closing laps of this race, and Martin Truex Jr. consistently showed speed and the ability to be in contention even while he was not leading, allowing him to ultimately take control and win the race. He also started on pole for this race. Now, another race that Martin Truex Jr. ran at was Pocono. He started 8th, he ultimately finished 15th, and he led 5 laps. Another race was Indianapolis, where Martin Truex Jr.'s race ended prematurely due to a mechanical issue, which was actually a brake failure. He started in the rear due to an inspection infraction. However, when he qualified 3rd. Truex was making really good progress, and by lap 41, he climbed to 12th before his mechanical issue. A left front brake rotor exploded, causing damage to the oil cooler and forcing him to retire from the race. He finished dead last in 40th. Now, another race that I did not get any film of was Richmond. He showed a strong performance, but he ultimately finished in 3rd. He absolutely dominated the first 2 stages once again, leading a race high of 163 laps. However, a pit road penalty for an uncontrolled tire during a caution in the 2nd stage relegated him to a 19th position. He came back in the last 90 laps to finish 3rd, but he also started 3rd, so he didn't gain or lose any positions, but it was a really big case of what could have been for Martin Truex Jr. Now, if you're a Martin Truex Jr. fan, you know this race. If you're not a Martin Truex Jr. fan, you also know this race. This is a very iconic race, as it was the first ever race run on the Roval configuration at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, and there was a giant pileup on one of the restarts in the final stage that caused for a pretty big shuffle of the field. Not all the dominant cars made it through, but Martin Truex Jr. and Jimmy Johnson did, and as you can see, they're having their last lap battle now. Jimmy Johnson, he wasn't doing so hot anymore, and he saw an opportunity where he could win, and he ultimately decided he wanted to go for that. He didn't want to play it safe and just coast into the next round of the playoffs. He wanted to go for this win. So he dove it in there, lost control of his car, and came back across the track and took out Martin Truex Jr. with him. This caused Ryan Blaney to sneak through and capture his first ever race win, and it relegated Martin Truex Jr. to a 14th place finish. After the race, however, Martin Truex Jr. expressed his frustration. As you'll see here, he turned Jimmy Johnson after the flag, ran into the back of him pretty hard, however. Deeply expressed his frustration, and over the radio he complained about Jimmy Johnson, rightfully so. Now, Martin Truex Jr. did start 13th this race, and he ended up leading 5 laps in the closing laps, but that didn't really matter, as Johnson wiped him out and Blaney ended up winning. Now, let's move on to 2019. For the first race of 2019 that Martin Truex Jr. drove the auto owner's insurance car was at Bristol. He started 23rd, and he ultimately finished 17th. He climbed through the field into the top 10, but he did not stay up there. Now, for the second race that Martin Truex Jr. drove the auto owners insurance scheme was at Richmond, as you can see here. He ultimately ended up dominating this race, and finally he ended up capitalizing on it. He had a pretty tight battle with Joey Logano towards the closing laps, but he was able to hold him off, and he secured his first NASCAR career short track win at Richmond, and at any short track in general, in his 81st attempt on this type of track. This was his 20th Cup Series victory, and it was significant because it was also his first ever win with Joe Gibbs Racing after Furniture Row closed, and he started in 5th position. He dominated the second half of this race, leading a race high of 186 laps. He clinched the win with a margin of 0.178 seconds over Joey Logano. Now, the third race of this season that he drove this sponsor was in May. Now, during final practice leading up to the race, Truex narrowly avoided a crash, making contact with another car, but being able to keep his car straight, and he struggled deeply in practice to find the right balance. Now, he ended up finishing in 19th place and was one lap down. He qualified 6th, but he went to the rear and started 31st. He did not lead any laps. Now, Darlington, he also started 22nd, and he ended up finishing 15th. Indianapolis, he started 27th, and he also finished 27th. He did not gain anything. He did not lose anything. He had pit road problems, and he got damaged, and he finished 4 laps down in this race. The pit road damage was very early on in this race, I believe, as I actually attended this race, and I was so excited to see him race, and then he got into a crash on pit road and was not in contention. Pretty sad to see. Now, another race was Michigan, as he showed a strong performance throughout this race in 2019, and he ultimately finished in 4th place. He led 43 laps during the race, and he won Stage 1. He qualified 15th, but he started in the rear due to failing pre-race inspection twice. Atlanta, he also finished 2nd, starting 9th, and leading 4 laps. Now, for the final race that Martin Truex Jr. drove the Moody Blue scheme for in 2019, came at Martinsville for the first Data 500, and he absolutely dominated this race to get a second short track win of his career, and his first at Martinsville. On October 27th, 2019, Martin Truex Jr. made history while leading a career-high 464 laps out of the 500 laps. Now, it's not as good as the race in 2016 where he dominated the Coke 600 and led all but 6 laps. However, this was a record in the Moody Blue car. This was the most laps led he led in a single race with this sponsorship and this scheme. He won all of the stages, and he started 3rd. Now, for the 2020 season, he raced 8 total races. The first one came at Atlanta on March 15th. He finished 3rd in this race. He started 11th, and he led 65 laps, winning both stages. Now, another race that he raced at was Bristol. On April 5th, he started 5th, and he finished 20th. He did not lead any laps. Then he also raced at Kansas, where he finished 3rd, started 5th, but led 44 laps. And Michigan, where he started 18th, finished 3rd, but he was involved in early contact with Tyler Reddick, which resulted in a cut tire and an unscheduled green flag pit stop. This put Martin Truex Jr. a lap down. However, he received the free pass during a caution on lap 94, and he battled his way back through the field, finishing 3rd. Now, on July 5th, for the Brickyard 400, Martin Truex Jr. started 8th, but again dropped to the rear. Truex was involved in a multi-car pit road incident during a competition caution on lap 13. This incident ended up forcing a red flag due to the pit road entry being completely blocked. He would end up not finishing and being placed in 38th. At Kentucky, on July 9th, Martin Truex Jr. started 9th place, but he had to drop to the rear once again. He really loved starting back there after failing inspection like every single race. Truex led 57 laps, including a significant portion of the race. As you can see here, he fought hard with the 550 package that we had. Everything was just pure chaos. As you can see, he got to the outside of Harvick here, held him up top, and you can just see Ryan Blaney caught him, Cole Custer caught him, and Cole Custer goes to the outside, passes all of them. Blaney, Harvick, Truex all make contact, and that is basically the end of the race. Cole Custer goes on to win. Martin Truex Jr. finishes second. Cole Custer gets his one and only career win, and Martin Truex Jr. just has to settle for second. Also raced at the second race they had at Michigan in the Moody Blue car, where he started 18th and finished third, and then he raced in the Martinsville race in November, starting second, finishing 22nd, and he had to pit for a loose wheel, losing valuable track position and ending his chance to advance to the playoffs. He led 129 laps that race. Now, for the 2021 season, Martin Truex Jr. raced at Atlanta. He finished third, but he started fifth. He started in the back once again for failing pre-race inspection twice. Now, Richmond, he led 107 laps. He started first, but he finished fifth. Kansas, he started 15th, and he finished sixth. And then we get to the good stuff. Darlington, the throwback race. Martin Truex Jr. delivered a dominant performance at the 2021 Goodyear 400 at Darlington Raceway. He secured his third victory of the season. This win was very significant, as it was the first time a driver had won both stages and the race at Darlington. Truex drove a throwback paint scheme inspired by his Furniture Row racing days, and he led 248 of the 293 laps, and of course he swept both stages of the race. He started fourth in this race. Now, Michigan, Martin Truex Jr. swept both of the first two stages. He led for a total of 47 laps during the race, and he finished second, starting fifth. At Indianapolis, Martin Truex Jr. started 15th from the rear, but he was involved in a multi-car incident in the closing laps of the race, which ended up causing him to spin. Now, the Indianapolis race was not on the normal oval configuration. It was actually on the road course. As the track shattered to pieces, literally, Martin Truex Jr. ended up spinning into that tire barrier right there. Then, this is not the Cup Series, but it was his one and only Truck Series start, and it was in the Moody Blue 51. He came down to the lower series to race in the dirt, and he dominated and won his first and only Truck Series race on the Bristol dirt track. He led 105 of the 150 laps. He used the Truck Series race as preparation for the Cup Series race later that day, and he started 15th. For the actual Bristol Cup race on the dirt, he led 126 laps of the 253 laps, and he showed a strong performance on the dirt track, showing he could hang with the best of the dirt guys, and he was a really good sleeper pick for this race. He's not really known for driving on dirt or excelling on dirt. However, he did on this day. But he had a flat right front tire on an overtime restart, which dashed his hopes of a victory, causing him to plummet from third to a 19th place finish. Started in third this race. Now, of course, Martin Truex Jr. right here, he was in third, just trying to get by Hamlin and Logano, and he just goes straight. The car will not turn all the way up the track, you see. He just had a flat right front, and that cost him a chance at winning the race. Now, for the next race, he raced at Martinsville. This was also the last race of 2021 in the Moody Blue car. In this race, he started fourth, and he finished fourth. He led 9 laps. However, that doesn't describe what day he had. He was fighting all day on the cut line, as you can see, and Kurt Busch ended up walling Martin Truex Jr. right here. So it was a very impressive rebound for Truex to come back, and he ultimately did advance, and he finished second in the championship. Now, for 2022, He raced at Richmond, starting 6th, finished 11th, and he led 56 laps. There was a caution for Tyler Reddick, and everybody pit for tires, but Truex only had scuffs, and that really ruined his race. Now you saw Bristol Dirt. He started 30th, finished 21st. That was the only highlight of him I could find. Then Darlington, he was involved in a crash right here, as you can see, going spinning into the inside wall and hit pretty hard. Now at Kansas, qualified in the top 5, but in stage 2 he blew a left rear and he went 2 laps down, so he had to climb his way all the way back through the field, but he ended up coming back to finish 6th. Now at Atlanta Motor Speedway, Martin Truex Jr. had a very up and down day, as he led 27 laps but was involved in a multi-car crash with Ross Chastain while battling inside of the top 5. He started 9th in this race. Then at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course, Martin Truex Jr. qualified in the 14th position, but once again, he started in the rear. He had to serve a pass-through at the beginning of the race. He clawed his way back up to finish 21st. In Michigan, on August 7th, Martin Truex Jr. started 7th, and he finished 6th. And then at Martinsville, for the final race of the 2022 season that Martin Truex Jr. ran this scheme, he started in 27th, and he finished 20th. Now, in 2023, this was Martin Truex Jr.'s last season that he ever got a win, but it was not in the Moody Blue car. Now, for the first race was at Bristol. He started 27th, and he ended up finishing 7th. Then he also raced at Richmond, where he started 12th, and he finished 11th. At Kansas, he led 79 laps. He won Stage 1, but he ultimately finished 8th after starting 4th. Now, Darlington here, he started on pole, and he led 141 laps. He won Stage 1, but he crashed with Ross Chastain battling for the win of Stage number 2. Then later on, he got into a crash with Joey Logano, which finally ended Martin Truex Jr.'s day, and he finished 31st. Then was Indianapolis, where Truex started 14th, but he dropped to the rear for unapproved adjustments. He rebounded to finish 7th. Then at Michigan, Martin Truex Jr. swept both the stages. He led 47 laps, and he started 5th, and he finished 2nd. As you can see right here, Martin Truex Jr. was in a very tight battle with Daniel Suarez and Brad Keselowski for this was the Stage 2 victory, I believe, and Truex got right to the outside of Suarez, as he dives low, and he side drafts Suarez to the line and barely wins the stage. Next is Atlanta. Martin Truex Jr. qualified 16th, but he got into a pit road incident with Michael McDowell. And then later on, something more drastic happened as he got involved in a multi-car pileup. And then, after this, the rain shortened the race, and he finished 29th. I really believed, while watching this race, that Truex had a shot to win. That did not happen, and Martin Truex Jr. still never won a super speedway race in his career. Now, for the final season, 2024, Martin Truex Jr. ran 8 races in the Moody Blue scheme. First one was at Bristol. He started 11th. All of you should remember this race, as it was extreme tire wear during this race. It was very unusual, but it put on a heck of a show. Great race. He ran in the top 10 all day, and he got lots of stage points. He finished 4th in both stages. He led 54 laps this race, and he ultimately finished 2nd. Now, Richmond, he started 7th. He finished in 4th. He led 228 laps. He finished 10th in Stage 1, and he won Stage 2. He became a very grumpy old man when Denny Hamlin jumped the start, but Martin Truex Jr. then decided he would slam into everybody in his path. Right here and right here. He's on the door of Larson. And Larson decides, you know what, I'm going to repay the favor. And Martin Truex Jr., let's just say, he was not very happy with Denny Hamlin as he hit him once, twice, three, four. And then he pulls in the pit lane. Now, after Richmond, we went to Kansas. Martin Truex Jr. started 13th. He finished 4th. He did finish 2nd in Stage 2, but he never led a lap. Then we went to Darlington, where he started 10th, and he finished 25th. And he finished 5th in Stage 2. Then we went to Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He failed pre-race inspection, so he started last, and he served a pass-through. He finished 8th in Stage 2, and he looked solid until he finished 27th after a crash with Kyle Larson, and he had a few mini incidents on his own. And then we headed to Michigan. He started 24th after qualifying got rained out. He made his way to the front, and he led 28 laps. He finished 8th in Stage 1 and 7th in Stage 2. He was running in the top 5 with 6 laps to go, and he got loose and hit the wall, bringing out a caution. This relegated him to finish in the 24th position. And then, Atlanta Motor Speedway, he finished 9th in Stage 1 and in Stage 2, but he finished in 35th after a crash on lap 205 with none other than Ryan Blaney and Christopher Buescher. Then, at Martinsville, Martin Truex Jr. started 1st, led 41 laps, finished 24th after a loose wheel and a speeding penalty in the final stage. Overall, Martin Truex Jr. has achieved a total of 7 NASCAR Cup Series wins while driving the number 78 and 19 Auto Owners Insurance cars. The races that he won were 1 win in 2016, the Bojangles Southern 500 at Darlington, 2 wins in 2017, Go Bowling 400 at Kansas, and the 2017 Bank of America 500 at Charlotte. In 2018, he won 1 race, and that was at Kentucky. And in 2019, he won at Richmond. And in 2021, he won at Darlington. And he also won at Richmond again in 2021. Over his career, Martin Truex Jr. ran 65 races with the Auto Owners Insurance Scheme as a primary sponsor in Cup. If you count Bristol Dirt and trucks, that's 66 total races. Depending on if you include the truck win or not, he either won 10% or 12% of every race that he ran with the Moody Blue sponsorship. Those are some pretty good numbers, and I'll admit, even though he didn't win since 2021 in that scheme, it really showed more of the Moody part of the scheme, where instead of running up front every race and winning the races, he would be running mid-pack or up front, and he would end up getting involved in wrecks or having a team issue or something that would always set him back. But Martin Truex Jr. had a very, very, very successful career. 34 NASCAR Cup Series race wins, and if you include the Clash in 2023, that's 35. He also ran 1 truck race, and he won that, and he has 2 championships in the now O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. Martin Truex Jr. has an outstanding Hall of Fame career and arguably one of the best primes in NASCAR history, especially his 2017 season. That was one of the most dominant seasons we've ever seen in the Gen 6 playoff era. If you made it this far in the video, I appreciate it, and I want to know what you think. What are your opinions on Martin Truex Jr.? Did he have a good career? Was the Moody Blue scheme special to any of you guys at all? What are your guys' thoughts on Martin Truex Jr.? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Have a great rest of your day.